Plus, if you're able to stream that. So let's move over to cross country for just a second. The men's and women's cross country, they were in Oklahoma State over in Stillwater this weekend for the Cowboy preview, and they did take second behind Oklahoma State. But Coach Bucknam was really impressed with the way that this group was able to collectively create that cohesiveness so short in such a short amount of time, because he credited the team with only being together for a week and a half since school started before they traveled over to Oklahoma State for this meet. And coming in second, he said that, it was a great showing for the team, and it definitely looks like it is in a very positive way for them moving forward. Tennis and the diving and swim team, they do get started later this month, and we'll touch on them whenever their seasons start to come around. And let's take a quick look at Razorbacks in the pros for just a moment. There's been a little bit of shifting last weekend where you saw Trey Flowers sign that 1-year, $5 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. Now, Sosa the Game, Dan Skipper, Grant Morgan, TJ Smith, and Jonathan Marshall all signed practice squad contracts after they were released after their third and final preseason game this last week. But I will say that, and it looks like Brandon Allen was also released in the Pro Hog update that I'm reading here with from Adam Hall. I didn't have him quite. He didn't have that. I don't think he's got that all the way updated quite yet. But so far not on a roster. You got Alex Collins and Darius Philon, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Myron Cunningham, Ty Clary, Randy Ramsey, and Jeremy Sprinkle. Not quite on. They're not on a roster. Also on top of Brandon Allen. I'll have to double check on Allen to see where he dropped. He may have dropped on that Cincinnati practice squad for all I know. I'll have to double check on that. But with Felipe Franks and Armon Watts, and both of those guys were able to stay on the roster. You saw Yelda Froholt stay on with Cleveland. John Ridgway and Jason Peters with Dallas. Jerry Jacobs looks like he's going to end up staying on that defensive side of the ball for Detroit, and then Frank Ragnow on that offensive side. Buster Brown did end up making the roster for the Jacksonville, from what I could see, and I thought that was quite a great thing for him. Of course, you're going to see Hunter Henry, him and Dietrich Wise are staying there on roster in New England, and then Dre Greenlaw. Definitely an integral part of that San Francisco defense. Treylon Burks and Cody Hollister ended up making the Tennessee roster with after Racey McMath had an injury, one of the wide receivers there for Tennessee, so he's going to stay on. And of course, you can see Cam Curl be playing a vital part of that back end of that defense for Washington with Scooter Harris. And then Jonathan Williams, it looks like he's going to stay on there in Washington as well, which is great because last year I think he saw some time with the Colts, but that was just about it. And let's kind of take a look at the preview of next week's game against the University of South Carolina. I really want to emphasize how big this game is. And I know Coach Pittman got on this morning on Twitter and posted a picture at 7 o'clock this morning. Nobody in lot 56 or in lot 44. Nobody out there, and said, I think it was 1 week from today at this time, we'll be getting ready for our first SEC matchup of the year. And this is huge, just to come out 1-0 against an SEC opponent and starting your SEC season off with a win. I know that Shane Beamer's guys are going to be ready. You don't know what you're going to get out of Spencer Rattler. And I know the guy is kind of a feast or famine, what we saw over at Oklahoma. He can be turnover prone, but he can also make some highlight reel plays. And that's one of the things that you do not want him see him making this over this next weekend with some of the things that we saw from the Razorback defense. Like I said, I think Coach Bowman and Coach Odom are definitely going to get in there and make sure that this defense is shored up, and we're not going to have the problems that they had this last weekend. Going through here for just a second, and we're going to take a look at what the South Carolina Gamecocks said. I know that SEC, ABC, and FCC Network, and those folks were they went over fall camp and kind of did a hard knocks with South Carolina, and I think we'll definitely see a much improved team from last year just because of the quarterback play. But whenever they went through there and they did that hard knocks tour through there, and they had a 3 or 4 episode bit with them, I think some of that was predicated on how, Coach Beamer's approach to this year would be Spencer Rattler moving in, and he's a pretty divisive character. I'm not going to lie. And he was out there and talking smack. I've detailed this before, and I think it definitely brings great TV. But first game of the season for the Gamecocks, they took on Georgia State there at home, beat them 35-24, and the first quarter was kind of a cluster, really, more than anything, because, Carolina and Georgia didn't have, it was scoreless, but, Carolina ended up putting on 28 points over the next 2 quarters to kind of distance themselves pretty easily. And Spencer Rattler, he was 23-37 for 227, and he a touchdown and 2 interceptions, so I have to go back on that a little bit. He didn't have a stellar game. He had a below average game for probably what he would consider himself to be a great quarterback. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher. Their top rusher was Jaheim Bell. He had 7 carries, 39 yards. The Georgia State defense kept that Carolina rushing attack in check. We had a lot of questions going into the game on Saturday for Arkansas on what that front four were going to do. Coach Odom played a front four, a base front four a lot during the game. I know that they said there were going to be multiple, but they ran the nickel for, I would say, probably 95% of the game, unless there was a situation where it dictated where they needed a dime defense. But I think you're going to see a lot of the same. Terry Hampton had a great game. Cam Ball had a great game. Definitely saw some flashes with them. Had the play, I would say, other than McLaughlin's interception, you had Jordan Dominic transfer from Georgia Tech roll through that offensive line, which they did have their starting center missing because he did have a knee injury at the first of this week. He was gone for Cincinnati, but Jordan Dominic coming off the edge there on the right side and having that huge hit, knocking the ball out, causing the fumble, and then falling on it for a fumble recovery. Those are the types of plays that you kind of were accustomed to seeing in defenses from 10, 15 years ago. The last couple of years, you haven't really seen a lot of push from the front four like you did on Saturday. So it's really impressive to see how far along Deke Adams has helped that defensive line come in such a short amount of time since he's been here on campus. And you didn't hear a lot from the linebackers. They were making plays, but that also was a great thing. They were able to shore up that second level, limiting a lot of Cincinnati runs to not really bust free. If you look at it for just a second, Cincinnati had a hard time really getting past that second level. Their running backs were having a hard time busting containment. They were having a hard time getting outside the tackles. When they did, they were able to make a couple of great runs, but in all, they really had a hard time. I'm trying to bring this up here. The long for the Cincinnati for the running backs was Charles McClellan, and he had a 35-yard run, and that was up that right side, and they were going towards the north end zone, and it was one of those plays where they were able to get a couple of great blocks, able to spring them free, but everything outside of that play, Arkansas's defense was able to keep everything in front of them, minus the passing attack. I do want to say that it was great to see Jaden Hazelwood get his first touchdown catch as a Razorback. It was a heck of a play. It looked like it was triple covered, and it looked like a couple of Cincinnati players knocked themselves out of the play as he was starting to catch it, and that one guy took a lick. I cannot believe how hard he got hit. I kind of felt bad for him because his own player did it, but it was great to see him. He was also integral in that Trey Knox touchdown that he had. Trey Knox also led the team in receiving at tight end. He had 6 receptions, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and Hazelwood sprung him free for that 32-yard touchdown that he scored, and to really kind of put the game out of reach from Cincinnati. You saw Matt Landers, the transfer from Toledo by way of Georgia. He had 3 catches for 43 yards, and then Hazelwood had the 3 catches for 42 yards and the touchdown. KJ was able to spread the ball out a little bit. He was able to get it to the running backs. Rocket Sanders had 3 receptions. Rashad Dominion had a reception also. And then Warren Thompson had 2 catches for 22 yards. So you're able to kind of see where KJ was able to methodically move the ball down the field a little bit. We did see a lot of designed play action where you saw and delayed rushes for him, making sure waiting for the defense to come around him and then slip out the middle there. And that jump pass to Trey Knox, boy, I tell you, I didn't know if that was going to come down or not, but I thought that was definitely a great play too, and a little bit of wiggle there as far as the playbook comes from with Kendall Browse. We didn't see that last year, and we did see some trick plays here and there, but as far as a jump pass, that was something that Cincinnati didn't have on their radar at all. So looking forward to South Carolina. You'll be able to see them on the on ESPN. And kickoff, I do believe, is at 11 a.m. Let me double check that really quick. That is correct. You can see that on ESPN. If you guys are stat junkies, if you log on to ArkansasRazorbacks.com, go to the sports tab, drop down where it says football, and then go to schedule. You will see the schedule of all of the games. If you go to live stats, they have a great team that keeps you up to date every minute of every play that they make. And it's just a little something you're able to pull up. You do it on the computer. I've tried it on my smartphone. It's a little hard. It's definitely computer-based. Get in there if you guys are huge stat junkies and take a look at that, okay? So make sure to definitely head out to the game early on Saturday. There is going to be some definite possibly issues because of it being early and folks not wanting to get up really early to get down there. So save yourself the headache. Get down there early so you don't have any problems with parking. Remember that also that the east lot on Baum Stadium is half and half, where it's half permit parking, half public parking. And also public parking down at Dixon Street